Can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Hey darling, I love it when it's me and you on the road with a couple of tunes in a car for two. Hey darling, you know we're gonna have a really good time, driving in the middle of the night when the stars are bright. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Ooh, let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Yeah, we only get one life. I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand.
Hello everyone! So if it wasn't already obvious by what you've just seen, I have decided to try something a bit different with Mr. Blueberry. I thought it would be fun to teach him to be a harness horse, teach him how to drive. So we haven't currently got a user cart that he can use, so we have a cart. It's never been the best, and so we never used it that heavily. It wasn't very well balanced. It was basically like an adjustable thing, and because it was adjustable, it just, I don't know, it just never seemed to balance quite right. And yeah, we kind of abandoned it to the elements a little bit, and the wheels are kind of wonky now and the brakes are shot on it, so yeah, it's a little bit knackered. But we do have a harness that fits Mr. Blueberry, and I decided, well, okay, what I can do is just get him like dead pulling, get him pulling random objects. Most people go for tyres or something like that. I thought, let's go for something a little bit heavier, a bit more substantial, so I chose to do it with a pallet. And yes, that's me running up the field like a madwoman, dragging a pallet. I have to say, this was a fantastic workout. So in those initial clips there, I basically just walked around the blue with the pallet dragging behind me. So the pallet's attached to me at this moment in time. I'm just pulling it with my hand there, but a few minutes ago, I basically had it, I just kind of like looped it over my shoulder, and I was leading him around, but I was dragging the pallet. Now the reason for that was, if he completely freaked out and spooked and decided he hated it, and tried to bolt off down the field, then it would not be attached to him. Therefore, he would not end up running off down the field with a scary thing chasing him. That's not what you want to happen when you're introducing a horse to pulling objects. And it is something that sadly happens to a lot of people who break their horses to harness. You will hear all sorts of horror stories of people hitching their horses up to a pallet or a tyre or something like that, and it bolts off down the field and goes over 2 fences and injures itself, and then they can never put it in harness ever again after that, and it's an absolute disaster. So we didn't want to do that with Mr. Blueberry, so I thought, okay, I'll drag it around. If he doesn't like it, then it's no big deal. But he turned out to be pretty okay with it. Now, he has been in harness before, he has been in the cart before, but he's never pulled it. So my process tends to be that I will get them used to the harness, do the long reining, and then I will hitch the horse up, just tied up on the yard, like literally tie them to the fence, put them in the shafts, so that they can get used to the fact that they can't swing their back end around. So they get used to having the shafts touching their sides, and they just get a feel for it. So he actually did that a couple of times a few years ago. We had him in the shafts, he did all of the desensitizing, but we never got as far as driving him. And like I said, the cart we've got, like, it's not the best. It was never very well balanced. We drove Nelly in it a bit, but you can never like relax in it. Like, you had to sit in a really specific place on the seat to get the thing to balance, and it just wasn't comfortable or enjoyable particularly. So yeah, this isn't entirely new to him, but it is his first time pulling things, and I've just about hitched him up here, and he's going to have his first few baby steps with the pallet following behind him, but with him actually pulling it himself. So if it goes tits up at this point, then it's attached to him. Thankfully, it doesn't go tits up. He's very, very good. And worth pointing out as well, actually, I haven't actually got blinkers on him for this. I debated it. Now, the purpose of blinkers mostly is to prevent the horse from seeing what's following behind them. So a lot of horses can't cope with objects like following behind them, especially like closely, like a cart would, or like something they're pulling, and it freaks them out. But I thought I would try it without blinkers. Nelly, I don't think I've ever driven without them. Stumpy, I've not driven without the blinkers, but I always hitch her up without her bridle on, so she's seen the cart behind her and she's like fidgeted around, like, so she's okay with it. Whether or not she'd be okay with it in motion, I don't know. But I thought I would go ahead and try it this way with Blue. I think it's better for them if they can learn to drive without the blinkers, because it just, it just means they're more comfortable with it, really. If for whatever reason they do end up seeing what's behind them one day, it's not going to completely blow their minds because they're used to it. So I'm just doing a few little baby steps here. I don't want to take him too far and build up too much momentum, and then he realises it's freaking him out. So we just do a few little baby steps, let him lean into the collar a little bit. Well, I say collar, it's a breastplate. He's obviously wearing a breast strap, not a proper pulling collar. So this harness is designed for pulling carts. Sorry, can't speak. It's designed for pulling carts. It's not really designed for like dead weight pulling, but it'll do. It's absolutely fine. It's not like we're pulling anything heavy right now, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. And I'm not quite sure what we're doing here. I actually don't know what we're doing here. We're just down the field faffing, apparently. What are we doing? I think... Did I have a harness malfunction? I'm not really sure what happened there. I can't remember. But off he goes, happy as pie. And he's doing so well. Like, he took to this really, really well. The only thing I noticed is that he had a few spooks as we were going around corners. I'm not sure if he does it here or not. No, he was okay on this corner. So I think what was happening was, on a straight line, he was quite comfortable with it. But I think as we went around a corner and it kind of like changed position in his field of vision, I think it kind of caught him off guard a couple of times and it spooked him a few times. We did have a couple of attempts at spinning around, but thankfully I was able to stop him from going full spook. I don't think he was ever going to tank off at any point. I think I've done enough training with him over the years that he's not much of a buck off down the field, bucking and squealing and running for dear life kind of horse. Like I've done enough like groundwork and desensitizing with him that I don't think that's in him anymore. Woody, on the other hand, is definitely a buck off down the field at 100 miles an hour, bucking and squealing. He is, oh my goodness. So let me tell you about Woody's first time pulling something. Oh my god, it was a disaster. So yeah, we just had a little bit of a spook there, and he lashed his front leg out to tell me he's getting frustrated. But yes, Woody's first time in a cart. Oh goodness, it was going so well. It was going so well. So I hitched him up. I did exactly the same thing as I've done with Nelly, as what I've done with Stumpy. Exactly the same thing as I've done here with Blue. We did everything, the long reining in the harness, the hitching up, just standing still on the yard, the desensitizing, walking around in hand together, and then eventually I got in the cart. So we did use the cart. I think it was a different cart we had, again, that wasn't the best either. We seem to have bought really crappy carts over the years, I don't know why. And now we don't really have anything, which is sad. I'd love to get another cart. But anyway, I'd hitched him up, we'd done everything, and I got in the cart to go for a little lap around the field, like sat in it with him driving properly. And it was all going incredibly well. And then out of nowhere, Woody did a Woody. Now, I hadn't really figured out that this was his thing at this point. It was when he was, I want to say 2.5, 3 years old, I attempted this. I'd not really sussed out his personality very well at this point, and I was obviously a lot younger as well, much more inexperienced. And he just bronked and he tanked it flat out, doing his epic Woodster textbook rodeo, front leg, head between his front legs, bucking, bronking, just, it was terrifying. And I ended up bailing out of the cart. I literally just jumped for my life, and he buggered off at the field at 100 miles an hour, bolted all the way back up to the yard, and then stopped right where his head collar was and looked around at me as if to say, are you going to take this damn thing off me now? And I'm like, okay, let's not drive Woody again then. Oh, I mean, I would like to give it another go, but given the fact that he's 12 now, Woody is 12 now, and he's never grown out of this tendency to have erratic outbursts, I'm just not sure that it's the best idea ever for him to be a driving horse. I feel like, and I mean, we did try a few different times. I actually took him out on the roads long reining a couple of times, and he did exactly the same thing. Like, he bronked. I actually lost him on the road a couple of times when I was long reining him, because he would just bronk and rodeo and I couldn't hold on to him. So yeah, I'm not sure that's the best career path for him ever. But Blueberry here, I mean, this right here is as bad as it got with him. He would do a little baby spook, he would turn around to look at it, he would stop, because that's what he's been trained to do. So one thing I make a point of with all of my horses, but especially those that are in harness, is if something freaks you out, you stop. And it's such an important lesson for them to learn. They have to learn that you can't spook and run away, because the scary thing is attached to you. So they have to learn to stop, and he did so well. Every time he spooked, he would take like a little baby step, and then he would stop. Like, he'd spin around a little bit, but he would stop and he would wait, and then the scary thing stopped chasing him and he was able to calm down. And it was absolutely brilliant. So yes, this turned out much better than Mr. Woodster's introduction to driving, I have to say. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could ever get Woody safely driving, to be honest. I just don't think it's in him. I think he's just got something wrong with his brain, bless him. I love him dearly, but there's not right with that one. I mean, I've done this with Blue, trained Nelly to harness, trained Stumpy to harness, and we've had no problems. So I think he's a Woodster problem. But anyway, I've just put some bags of bedding. I was just using them as weights on the base of my pal there, just to give it a bit more stability. So that was about 30 kilos I've put on him there, just to give him a taste of something a little bit heavier, and he was fine with that. We only did like one lap. I just wanted to give him a taste of something a little bit heavier. Not a problem at all. And actually, he'd really settled by this point of our training session. We were out there, I would say, for about half an hour in total. I had some issues unclipping that, actually. I need to reconfigure my hitch setup a little bit. And just to finish off, I jump up and down on the pallet like a crazy woman, because why not? Just making sure he's not scared of it, which clearly he isn't, because he's a legend. And yeah, that was basically our session. And as you can see, he has very much learnt the stand and wait trick. This is another reason I teach our horses this, because I do driving stuff with them. Such an important thing to learn. Anyway, that is just about it for this one. I'm going to take Mr. Blueberry in, give him some sweeties, and yeah, see you next time.